allow me to have a recap of what we had yesterday morning. We were challenged. Professor Bionga spoke about where we are in terms of translating our research and innovation products into impact. He said, what is happening in Africa, we are only able to translate 14% of what we are doing into impact. He alluded to the fact that we can talk about innovations, but innovation in terms of how they can enhance research and impact. And it's something that he mentioned, which I picked, and which is going to be key in what I'm going to talk about, the importance of value chain strengthening. Value chain strengthening. All of us are embedded in value chains, whether it is agriculture, energy, and how can we look at the value chains in terms of enhancing our transformative potential? Because that is the issue. That was what was presented yesterday. We need to think about how our work can actually become transformative. That was the message he left behind. And then he spoke about aligning our research and innovation to the societal needs to be able to be transformative. And he spoke about quadruple helix. And I want to urge us to go a little bit beyond quadruple helix, because he spoke about the industry, the academics, the researchers, and the need to bring a missing actor. He called the citizen. But I think we want to transition a little bit to thinking about the multiple actors that we need to think about when we are discussing research and innovation. And this is where I'm urging for us to look at the system instead of just the quadruple. Because we do have multiple actors who are involved in the system, the research and innovation ecosystem, that we need to bring on board. In terms of what I'm thinking about here, capacity strengthening for them to contribute to the system in a way that it can enhance our functionality. This is the message. If you don't get anything else from my speech, I am appealing for us to think about strategies that can enhance us to build the capacities and skills of the whole system in a way that the change, what I'm calling system change, can happen to enhance change of the individuals. And the individuals here would start with you as researchers. That is at the micro level, the actors at the micro level, the grassroots actors. And the change would also be speaking at the meso level. This is where we speak about institutions and organizations. And the change will then translate to the macro level. This is at the national level, where we are talking about national innovation systems and the change that we want to see. So he referenced ecosystem approach without using the word innovation system, but he referenced ecosystem approach, which for me is synonymous with what we are talking about today. And then of course the need to build a holistic research translation capacity that is synonymous with the system-wide innovation capacity. So with that as just to remind us a recap of what we did yesterday, let's have a look at what are the trends in research and innovation that we are seeing. Yesterday it was interesting during the cafe to actually see what you guys are doing. Do you know you are engaged in emerging technologies? That's what you're doing. And I'm informed by what is happening at the African level, the African Union high-level panel on emerging technologies. And you can actually see this is what is going on. The emerging technologies within the context of fourth industrial revolution, this is what we are talking about. We have transitioned from the first industrial revolution and we are now at the fourth industrial revolution. Because of time, I don't want to dwell on that very much. Look at what is possible for the African continent. Look at it from that side. But that which has been aligned to the 2063 agenda goals for the continent, this is what has been prioritized on the right. and you can actually position yourself within the different technological innovations that are happening within Africa. I was excited by our colleagues from Zambia. They are speaking to the next generation batteries. Can you imagine? Because that is the conversation that is emerging now in Africa around the role of the critical minerals within Africa. It is taking us back to what we know about resource cars in Congo. There is a lot of minerals there, but what has it done in terms of development? It's a cars. It's a lot of literature that has been written about the resource cars and the minerals. So you can actually situate yourself within those different thematic areas within which Africa is positioning itself to address the issues of research and innovation and how that can enhance transformative change. I don't want to go into details around this. This is at the sectoral level. You can actually see in agriculture, in financing, artificial intelligence. This is what is going on. You can actually get all this information in some of the product documents which I'm going to show you down there. But what caught my attention when I was thinking about this is artificial intelligence and how it is revolutionizing the health sector. You can actually Google that particular website. You'll see, and this is happening here in Uganda. And a work of the colleague, one of the members of the APEC team, William Waswa. I think some of you may have met them, those who are from Uganda. Excellent work that is going on across the sectors. There's more. I didn't want to, those were just some of the examples, and you can actually visit some of those documents to understand what is going on at the African level, at the level of gene rights. I'm involved in gene rights conversation about the governance, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and the like. So then, from that, as a basic introduction of what we can possibly think about in terms of emerging technologies in the context of Africa, how does the research and innovation context look like in Africa? Because this is actually going to define how we reimagine transformative change as researchers, as policymakers. So the ecosystem now, moving away from quadruple thinking to who are the actors in that particular ecosystem. There are many you can actually see. But more important is the small and medium enterprise and informal sector actor who we have to think about when we are thinking about research and innovation is in Africa that is transformative. But also not forgetting the others like the funders, the regulators, the innovators, as well as the research use. And many of these actors, they can actually swap positions. You are in the knowledge production, but you could also be in the user side, what we call user innovation side. So think about that ecosystem in terms of what we are discussing today. How can we become transformative as researchers, as policymakers, whoever belongs to that ecosystem? How in your own context, in your own area of operation, how can you enhance transformative change? What we are calling system-wide change. I continue with the context. I picked this from last week in the session I was participating in, and it speaks a lot about creating capabilities and capacities for the manufacturing industry in Africa. Simply because there is a lot that has been spoken about relating to deindustrialization. We are not catching up. We are going behind. The concept of deindustrialization has been used, and this really has to do with our research and innovation capacities that we are building as a continent. It speaks a lot about what we need to do in terms of enhancing research and innovation that is transformative. Another, this was presented last week in our session, and it was speaking about the contribution within the economies on the startups, the small and medium enterprises, the youth, and the informal sector. How much are the nations contributing to their development, because these are the ones who are supposed to help us to leapfrog or to catch up. These are the ones. What are we doing to enhance their capabilities? And the one thing one thing that needs to be done is to contribute to research, contribution in terms of funding. That was an issue that was referenced by Professor yesterday. And of course, it was notable to see Kenya is leading in terms of the commitment they have in supporting the startups. And that was quite interesting for me. I actually didn't know, and I'm in Kenya. And then also, this was referenced yesterday, it's about academic and output. This is it's a sad situation. You can see where we are, 1.4% contribution to the world research output, and we have the 12.5% of the world population. Very, very discouraging. Again, another trend, who are we collaborating with? Professor referred to this yesterday. We prefer to collaborate with others outside. Why is that? We had a conversation yesterday in our group. Why are the African researchers not collaborating with their own local institutions? And somebody said it is about competition. You fear to compete. Others said it's much more with our culture. I tend to agree with that. It's our research culture that we have established over the years. The research culture that we need to change. And that can actually tell us what is going on within the continent. And again, this was also presented in one of the youth sessions that I was in. Of course, not in this format. I had to change to add, to respond to what the keynote speaker said. We have, we have opportunities that we can leverage on as a continent. And one of them was youth dividend. The session I was on last week was speaking about youth and innovation. What can we do to incentivize the young people to build the skills and capabilities to contribute to the emerging technologies that would be transformative for the continent. So that is indeed a challenge, also as an opportunity. And the Agenda 2063, this is a roadmap for the continent that we use to align our research and innovation agenda for the nation, for the continent, but also for the nation. It is giving us a roadmap. So we are not starting from scratch. But fortunately, we do have the STISA 2034. This document was approved on 7th November in Addis. So the document now is ready to be implemented. I'll show you a little bit about that document. It is indeed a challenge for us because of implementation that we need to make sure that enhances some change. Then education access, education gap. So the skills we need to transition from STEM focus to much more holistic approach to enhancing the process towards STEM contributing to research and innovation. So that's just a context. This is TISA. I was excited to see they are paying attention to frontier and emerging technologies. This is the way it looks like. It has 6 pillars of implementation, and I believe this is going to, of course, inform how the nation, the continent position itself in terms of research and innovation. Oh, another issue here that we need to discuss, the issue of metrics and research and innovation indicators, the ones we are using for the continent. Are they aligned to our context? The small actors, what we call social innovation, the informal sector or social innovation, are we accounting for that innovation? Are the also manual indicators that we have borrowed from the West, the Frascati manual indicators that we are using, STI indicators, are they accounting for the informal innovation that is happening with the small-scale farmers, for instance, the women on the ground at the micro level? That is a big challenge. Do we have the capacities to inform how we need to account for that innovation that is normally not accounted for in the continent? So with that context that I have read before me, then how can innovation in research and development become more inclusive and transformative? That is the question we are asking ourselves this morning. And that is the challenge which was left with us yesterday by Professor Byonga yesterday. And I use my innovation and development training and skills which I've gained over the years across the sectors in agriculture, renewable energy, and digital space to share a few thoughts on what is this that we can actually think about. And I begin with trying to lay an understanding of the relationship between research and innovation. We have transitioned from what we call Mode 1, knowledge production. In the 50s, 60s, there was this urge for the science policy push. That was what was guiding. Then we transitioned to 60s, 70s, where there was this recognition that we cannot ignore the learning aspect. You cannot just think about ideation and then diffusion of the knowledge. You have to think about these loops, the knowledge loop that actually influences what happens, and then we transition to what we know of as system thinking. System thinking is life in Africa because most of our policy instruments are informed by innovation thinking. But now there's a transition to another higher level of thinking. We are calling it Frame 3. Nora could be familiar with this because she's in a program which we are trying to understand the transformative innovation thinking and the theory and how it applies for Africa. So it's called Frame 3. And it has been informed by the global dynamics, the issues of climate change, the globalization aspect, the SGCs, and the need for inclusive development. So now we are speaking about another, what we are calling a Frame 3. We can talk about that a little bit more because there's a lot that is happening there, even within the continent. Then with that in mind, then, do we need to rethink innovation from invention to innovation? And for me here, what I want you to pick, innovation is about application of knowledge in production of goods and services. This is the new definition, the OECD definition, which captures the non-technical forms of innovation, and it allows the Africans researchers to account for the non-technical innovation that is happening and that which is not normally accounted for. So this is what I would want you to pick from here. I don't think I want to go into the details on that one, but also to capture the fact that we want to speak much more about process innovation. The process innovation is key to complement the product innovation that we are familiar with, the technical forms of innovation, but also to remember that innovation is a social process. Social process, and therefore they are what I'm calling learning processes that we need to consider. You remember that context of the actors, the interaction. In their interaction, they are actually generating some forms of knowledge. There is learning, a lot of learning that is happening within that interaction of the multiple actors within the research and innovation ecosystem. So, but then how do we account for that learning? How can it trickle back to enhance what I call local capabilities? Local capabilities for us as researchers, local capabilities for the small actors at the micro level. How does learning then trickles back? And this is the essence of conceptualizing innovation as a process. But also not forgetting a lot of what happening in Africa is social innovation. Some of you could have heard about grassroots innovations, frugal innovation, especially in the health sector, but also social innovation that is being spoken about now, together with the innovation system thinking, and how that as social innovation how we can improve societies through that. It speaks to the capacities, building the capacities of those who are producing knowledge. So that is something that you may want to note. I like using this diagram. I got this from Agricultural Innovation System literature, and it actually explains the systemic nature of research and innovation ecosystem. Systemic nature, you can actually see the linear model, and now the transitioning to the system way of looking at how all those actors are interconnected, and how that can enhance our transformative potential. So then the concept of sustainability, again, is helping us to reframe innovation as a transformation agenda. I think this is something that we cannot forget. It is helping us to rethink how our research and innovation can become much more transformative, and that also has defined how we address the research and innovation process. So then I come back then to appealing us to rethink research in innovation. That is the traditional research, and innovation that you're familiar with. You're familiar with the STEM. That is research and innovation. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But mentioning that we need to complement that with research on innovation. That is now understanding of the processes that underpins research in innovation. And that's the only way that we can meaningfully transform research and innovation. This is what it's all about. Research on innovation, complementing research in innovation. And from that then I pick two things. How then do we look at the context, African context, within which then we undertake our research and innovation context? And I argue that our focus as researchers and innovation has been much more on science. And we have forgotten, we talk about, for those who are in agricultural systems, we talk of new seeds variety and how they can address global challenges. That is good. But have we taken time to think about the context within that particular variety is produced from the minute of ideation up to the minute when it is taken up by the farmers? Have we looked at, reflected on that context within which that particular variety has been produced? So if you think about the context, then you are able to identify some social and institutional challenges that we may want to articulate for our research and innovation to become transformative. And it's helping us also to think about the value chain. The keynote speaker spoke about value chain. There's the global value chain that helps us to understand the global geopolitical dynamics of emerging technologies, but there's also the domestic value chains. The cassava value chain, for instance. How are we understanding how to build the capacities along those specific value chain? So I think that's something which we can think about in the discussion. Then the other thing to think about from this is on process innovation and how it complements product innovation, because this is what we traditionally talk about. So the process pathway has been forgotten, and the process pathway of production, of product production, brings out some what we can call institutions and partnership issues, the collaborations we spoke about yesterday. But what forms of collaborations are we talking about? We need to think about before even we forge into partnerships and collaborations. What is this for us there to negotiate about, for us to benefit from that? And that's where participation and consultations becomes very key with those who are going to be beneficiaries of the research and innovation. And we can talk about that if you want to. And again, process innovation, it helps us to ask qualitative questions. How, why, and where, that we normally don't ask as researchers, because enable us to understand the context within which we are undertaking our research and innovation, and therefore align our strategies to that, the capacity building strategies. And then that brings me then to the conclusion. How are we undertaking our capacity strengthening in a systemic or a system-wide approach? And I drew this definition, I like it, from health innovation literature that describes this research and innovation capacity as in a holistic way. But also then bringing me back to the innovation system thinking that enhances the building of a system-wide innovation capacity. And how that can actually trickle down to the micro level, because we are speaking about transformative innovation and research and innovation. How can it impact the translation of research that Professor spoke about yesterday? So it's about that. So then I conclude here by asking, are we actually thinking about it within ACTS? We are. We do have several projects that actually are considering that holistic nature in terms of capacity strengthening. And AfricaRIX is a network that is actually promoting research on innovation. We are building capacity of young scholars at the PhD level within the continent to actually think in regards to research and innovation. You can look at our website what we do. The other project is, this speaks to the gap yesterday that relates to the weakness between industry and academic. And this particular project, which was funded by IBRC, it was helping us to understand the context within which ICT research is being undertaken in Kenya and of course in Africa. And how can we build institutional capacity that enhances or is informed by a reviewed research culture. A research culture that translates into working with the stakeholders and they contribute to the process. So this is another project. And ACTS, you can see ACTS on top. We were collaborating with California Polytechnic University in US. We were the broker. And we did quite a number of things with the university, Strathmore University, JK Watt, Nairobi University, these kind of universities, and to bring the industry actors here. So we provided fellowships to the academics for them to take time from their work and contribute to this. And finally, this is in renewable energy. I'm finishing. The renewable energy, a project which helped us to build capabilities within the renewable energy sector, focusing on solar and wind. And again, this is a classic example of using system-wide thinking into building transformative capacity. And of course, some of you can identify with ACTS Artificial Intelligence for Development project that has been going on. And I grant that some of the people who have benefited from this program have actually transitioned on to inform transformation at the different levels within the institutions and also at the national level.